throw it away. Oh shit. Okay. Hello, my belly dance friends. Today we're talking about how to balance a prop in belly dance. We're going to cover some specific ones, and I'm also going to show you some household items you can use. Learning to balance a prop is also great because it gives you better posture, more accurate muscular skeletal isolation, and better balance overall. But you need to know how to do it correctly so you're not hurting your body, hurting yourself, or hurting those around you that might suffer from your prop experimentation. We've all been mesmerized by a belly dancer that has come out and blown our minds by balancing some random object on a random part of their body. It just adds a lot of allure, a lot of mystique, and even an element of danger depending on what the prop is. And sometimes it's the belly dancer balancing on an object, which is even more insane. But we're just talking about props that we can balance on ourselves. The main props we're going to talk about today are going to be pots and baskets, tea trays, candle trays, and shamadan. And of course, we have to talk about swords. Before we get started with our subject matter today, let's go ahead and click subscribe and or click that notification bell so that you can not only be a part of this page, but you can be notified every single time there's a new video. So there's tutorials, interviews with belly dancers, just belly dance gab and blab all over the place. So pot and basket dancing are dances that have originated in various areas around the world, featured in North Africa, in the Middle East, in Southwest Asia. There's the Tunisian pot dance, centered around dancers carrying and dancing with clay pots. This is the pot that I have for belly dancing. Well, it's not actually mine, I'm borrowing it. But this is the style that's used in a troupe that I work with called Chignata. When we do Renaissance fair dancing, it's shaped more like a big vase. It's metallic, safe for myself, my dance mates, and my audience. That's why we use that type of material, weight, etc. There's Nubian basket dancing. The women in North Africa will have these flat, round, woven baskets that they'll dance with and balance during ceremonies like weddings. Mahmoud Reda decided to create a Falahi basket dance, which was highlighting Egyptian farmers and stylized more in Egyptian dance fashion. There's the candle tray or shamadan. Shamadan dancing is specifically Egyptian wedding tradition called the zeppa, which is the bridal procession. From the bride's house, the entire wedding party will travel to the groom's house, and there's dancers, musicians, family members, and a specific rhythm indicating what's happening. The shamadan itself is a round encasement for the head that has basically a candelabra attached to it so that you have room for a lot of candles. Some dancers dance with a tray. This can have candles on it. There's actually a cool DIY link that I'll add in here if you want to make your own candle tray for dancing. The Raqs Asanea or Moroccan tea tray dance was popularly done in tea houses, usually by men, and involved a big tray with a lot of cups and an actual filled carafe or pitcher of tea, hot tea that was steeping so that you could serve it afterwards. One of my favorite dancers is John Compton, and he used to do an amazing tree dance. Sometimes with candles, sometimes with tea. It makes your palms sweaty just watching it because these dancers are doing level changes, back bends, big hip movement, and you're just hoping to God nothing goes wrong. Especially when it comes to our final prop, the sword. There's historical documentation of Bedouin women in North Africa having danced with swords, including balancing on their head for quite a while now. This has also been documented throughout various cultures, from the Scottish Gael to the Raqs As-Saif of the Middle East, as military dances performed by men primarily to exemplify military prowess, fighting pizzazz, or a practice routine to strengthen your fighting skills. And then of course, Jamila Salimpour brought sword to the forefront in belly dance in America in the late 60s, early 70s with her troupe Ballanat in California. So those are some of the props we're going to look at today. I have some of them, not all of them, but I'm going to show you some common household items that you can use to practice your prop balancing skills. Let's take a look at what's around my house. So if you can find a small book at your house, I have a little floppy, not hard case book. Try balancing that first. Find my balancing point on my head because that's primarily where I'm gonna balance today for the household items. It allows you to find your good dance posture, shoulders down, your chest is kind of lifted, kind of move around and wiggle here. Go for a bigger book if you need a little more weight or want to challenge yourself a little more. Also, some of these have slidey covers on them, so if you were silly like me and bathed today and washed your hair, you might have really smooth hair, or maybe your hair is just fine anyway. You may need to texture it with hairspray or gel to add a little something to your hair texture to make it a little harder for something really slick to slip off, so you can work on finding that balancing point and keeping your object there. You're also going to want to try to keep your chin slightly lifted if you're able to balance more to the front of your head, or slightly tilted down if you find that you're more to the middle or the back of your head is a good balancing point. And I like being a little further back because it allows me to keep my chin down and my spine seems to align a little easier. All right, old college textbook. Let's see if it works. My head's kind of pointy. You'll notice if it's not balanced right, your chin will tilt. What you want is for your chin to not tilt, for your head to be evenly forward. Boop, boop, boop. Oh. If you get comfortable with this, go ahead and try to walk around or roll your shoulders or bend your knees and dip down in a level change. Oh, all right, I found a picture. Try it this way. I feel it sliding. Good old pan. This is super slick surface, so you might have to texture it a little bit. Boop, 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 boop. Cutting board. Charcuterie, anyone? Lunchtime. A cookie pan. This is a pizza pan. Oh, it's a little greasy, but that helps. So, yay for not totally clean dishes. Try some little shoulder shunning. Even try to lift that chest, tilting that neck down and leveling back. This is a plastic plant base. How Austin, Texas. Hopefully we all have this by now. Somehow I don't think this cake pedestal is gonna work. Nope. So once you get comfortable balancing those items on your head, have a prop of your own, or you decide you want to purchase one, I would recommend the props that have been mentioned. There's the pot or basket balancing. I don't have a basket really. I just have this random basket that has random stuff in it. It's definitely not made for balancing, and it's heavier on one side than the other. Oh, it's not gonna work. But I do have a couple of vases that I like to use. One of them I'm borrowing because I don't have one that looks like this, but the troupe that I'm in, Chignetta, uses it at Renaissance Fair. You can find a metallic or slightly heavy non-glass vase or pot, TJ Maxx or Ross, or a thrift store if you go to the Goodwill. This is another one I've gotten. Goodwill. The hardest thing to find is something that is heavy enough, so you may have to add like rice or beans or something into your pot just to have the weight that will sit on your head really well. Also, the bottom of the pot may need to be adjusted. It may need to be more round or more pointy to fit on your head a little more easily, because you're balancing an object on your head. It's amazing. It's hard to do even if you have some sort of, you know, texture in your hair, or you're texturing the bottom of whatever item you're balancing. It's still hard to do. This extra stuff is for your safety. Obviously, you don't want to be in a performance and have something topple off and hit anybody. Anything extra is for your and the dancer's safety. They can do it without the extra stuff. This is just for you. Some people wear headscarves for balancing pots on their heads or baskets, and that is a way to add texture and add a little volume to the base that this is sitting on. So once you get that on there, walk around, level change, kind of bounce the knees a little bit and see if you're on that spot. If you are, your shoulders should be down, your back should be straight. You're going to be in really good posture. That's where you have to be skeletally for this thing to not fall off. Sorry, I don't have a candle tray. Okay, let's get to the sword. So this is one of my swords. Oh, it's kind of dirty. Wipe down your sword with some sort of a glass cleaner or cleaner that will leave it streak-free and fingerprint-free. This sword you can tell is made for balancing because you can place your hand or your two fingers close to the hilt and find the balancing spot. That means this can balance on you as well, not just your fingers. So to place it on your body, you're going to want to start to learn to hold your sword with both hands and to hold the end of the sword between that webbing between the thumb and the forefinger, and grip the hilt of your sword with the other hand so that when you place it, you're able to safely, without touching this or this, place it on your head, because I have hurt myself with a sword so many times. This is when you're gonna wanna be careful. So if you have one of these scimitars, then it's gonna be sharp. So you're gonna want a balanced dance sword. I would recommend Cult of Athena for online purchases. They have a lot of options for belly dancers, but you're gonna wanna look for websites specializing in props for belly dancers. You can't just take a normal sword and balance it on your head. It's gonna be a real mess. This has a really sharp tip. It's probably a good idea to sand it down, and this blade is still really sharp on this. So with the sword, you can balance it on lots of things. Once you find that balancing point on the sword, you can balance it all over the place. You can put it on your shoulder. Some people like to balance on their hips. You'll find your hip bone and place the sword just above there. Of course, if you have a big skirt that's rolled up or some belts, that kind of helps too. Find the balancing point, and then you have that hip. You can do some turns. You want to balance and bring your knee up. You can balance that closer to your hip. Bending the toe. If you want a real challenge, you can do two swords. Ha-ha! So the first sword will go a little further back on your head. If you're right-handed, the hilt will be on the right. So the way I've been showing you may be the opposite of what you are used to as far as what hand is dominant for you. And then you'll do the opposite of that. Place that one in front, keeping the blades close together, finding that balancing point on the opposite sword, and then releasing only when you're totally ready to. And this will be super heavy, so you will probably want a headpiece or a headscarf or have a little cushion, and it'll also help texture so you can keep the swords on your head. You can bring your arms up in front of the swords to help balance if you're moving. This will kind of be a protective layer as well if they're really wiggly on your head. And then if you want to take them off, again, webbing of that hand, up and down. Same with the shoulders. So that's it for prop balancing. If you want links to my belly dance tutorials so you can practice some movement, I will link them in this video. I will also link my resources for the information that I've gotten on prop balancing. There's lots of great resources out there if you're looking to purchase a new prop. It is your new stage partners to be treated with respect, honor, and love. If you liked this video, please go ahead and give it a like. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. That helps me out a lot, and it also helps me if you can click that red subscribe button down below. Thanks so much for joining me today. I can't wait to see you again.